You keep rescuing people who will gladly drown you, calling it loyalty, calling it strength, proving you are disposable in every hierarchy you enter. If this feels uncomfortable, stay. Chapter 1. Mercy is not neutral. You were taught that saving people makes you noble. That belief did not come from wisdom. It came from systems that needed obedient carriers of other people's consequences. Mercy is not kindness. Mercy is a signal, and every signal is read by predators. When you step in to rescue, you announce something without speaking. You can be used. Not because you are weak in character, but because you are predictable in behavior. Hierarchies do not punish cruelty first. They punish transparency, and mercy is the most transparent intention a man can display. You think you are protecting someone. What you are actually doing is advertising your tolerance for imbalance. You accept risk. You absorb damage. You carry weight that is not yours. In every structure of power, courts, tribes, corporations, families, that role is already assigned. It is never the throne. People do not remember who saved them. They remember who could have destroyed them. Gratitude fades. Position does not. This is the first fracture in your worldview. Helping is not neutral. It changes how you are cataloged. The moment you intervene, you are no longer a sovereign observer. You are a resource, and resources are consumed. The more often you rescue, the more you are surrounded by people who require rescuing, not because they are unlucky, but because your presence allows their weakness to survive. You become the shelter that keeps dysfunction alive. You tell yourself you are being human. The hierarchy reads you as replaceable. This is why powerful men appear cold. Not because they lack emotion, but because they understand visibility. Compassion shown without control is not virtue. It is positioning suicide. You are not being asked to become cruel. You are being forced to see. Mercy is not a moral act. It is a strategic declaration, and every declaration has a cost. If you still believe saving people makes you strong, you are not kind. You are untrained. Chapter 2. The rescue reflex. You believe you choose who you save. That is an illusion. Your nervous system chooses for you, and it chooses based on old training, not strategy. The rescue reflex is not moral. It is neurological conditioning mixed with social reward. You were taught that intervention equals worth, that sacrifice equals identity, that being needed equals value. None of this was designed for your sovereignty. It was designed for your availability. When someone collapses near you, you do not analyze power. You feel urgency. Urgency is the oldest leash in human control. It bypasses thought and triggers obedience. Kings used it, priests used it, modern systems still use it. You move because tension demands release. But every time you rescue, you inherit consequence. You inherit risk, blame, expectation, and future obligation. The person you saved does not rise to your level. You descend into their gravity. This is the mechanism. Whoever absorbs consequences loses position. Predators understand this. That is why they rarely intervene. They observe. They wait. They let outcomes educate. You, however, interrupt outcomes. You interfere with natural selection inside social structures. You preserve weakness. You stabilize failure. And then you wonder why you are surrounded by chaos. You are not unlucky. You are positioned. The rescue reflex makes you emotionally reactive instead of strategically still. It makes you valuable to broken systems and invisible to functional ones. You become a utility, not a peer. And here is the quiet cruelty of it. The people you save do not feel loyalty. They feel relief. Relief is temporary. Respect is structural. No hierarchy is built on relief. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You realize you are not helping people. You are protecting yourself from the discomfort of watching consequences unfold. That is not strength. That is avoidance, dressed as virtue. From this point forward, every time you feel the urge to save someone, you will feel something else beneath it. Exposure. Chapter 3. The 6 Who Drain Power. Every hierarchy has parasites. They look human, they speak human, but they consume position, not resources. You already know them. The victim. He survives by broadcasting helplessness. His currency is pity. The more you lift him, the heavier he becomes. The dependent. He replaces responsibility with attachment. He does not want growth. He wants proximity to strength. The performer. He mirrors your values without possessing them. He survives through imitation, not evolution. The betrayed. He builds identity around past wounds. He does not want resolution. He wants a witness. The moral superior. He trades righteousness for relevance. He judges to feel tall. The opportunist. He appears loyal until the temperature changes. Each of them shares one trait. They feed on intervention. They do not collapse by accident. Collapse is their strategy. They orbit strength because strength is warm, and warmth attracts weakness pretending to be cold. You mistake proximity for alignment. You confuse presence with loyalty. You assume shared language means shared direction. It does not. Machiavelli understood this pattern long before modern psychology named it. He warned that those who cling to you during ascent will not carry you during decline. They are not enemies. Enemies are visible. They are gravity. They slow without attacking. They drain without demanding. They weaken without striking. And you allow it because you still believe exclusion is cruelty. It is not. It is architecture. Every system that survives learns to eliminate inefficiency quietly, not violently, not emotionally, structurally. These 6 types never leave by themselves. They stay until you fall or until you change, and the moment you stop rescuing them, they will call you cold. Let them, because cold is the temperature of clarity. You are not here to be surrounded, you are here to be positioned. Chapter 4. The Cost of Mercy. History does not reward compassion, it records outcomes. Empires fell because leaders protected liabilities. Movements collapsed because weakness was allowed to speak as if it were wisdom. Bloodlines vanished because selection was postponed for sentiment. You were taught mercy is moral. You were never taught its price. Look at every structure that failed. Not the speeches, not the intentions. The pattern. Rome did not collapse from enemies outside. It rotted from accommodation inside. Corporations don't die from competition. They die from internal loyalty to inefficiency. Relationships don't decay from conflict. They decay from tolerance of disrespect. The same law governs all systems. What you allow, you become. Human nature is not kind. It is adaptive. People do not rise to your expectations. They sink to your tolerance. The 6 types you protect are not neutral. They reshape your environment. They change your posture. They rewrite your decisions. They shift your identity from sovereign to shelter. And slowly, without noise, you become a host. Machiavelli warned that generosity without discipline becomes a weapon used against its owner. Not by villains, by dependents. You believe saving others proves strength. It proves exposure. Predators do not attack lions. They wait for the wounded one who refuses to stop bleeding. And you keep bleeding socially, emotionally, strategically, because you still believe loyalty should be unconditional. There is no such thing. There is alignment, there is utility, there is consequence. Everything else is narrative. When you rescue the wrong people, you train the right ones to leave. When you protect the weak, you teach the strong that you do not protect standards. And standards are the only thing that creates gravity. This is why power isolates. Not because power is cruel, because clarity is lonely. Because once you see how many people survive by dragging others down, you cannot unsee it. And once you see it, you must choose structure or sympathy, trajectory or tradition, sovereignty or noise. Chapter 5. Strategic withdrawal. You do not rise by attacking. You rise by removing access. Power is not volume, it is position. Every predator understands this. When resources are scarce, they do not announce dominance. They conserve energy, they observe, they choose when to move, and when they do, the outcome is already decided. You were trained to react, to explain, to negotiate your worth, to prove your intentions. That is why you are predictable. Silence is not weakness, it is filtration. When you stop explaining yourself, the parasites reveal themselves. When you stop rescuing, the dependent expose their fragility. When you stop performing, the manipulators lose their stage. Strategic withdrawal is not retreat, it is surgical repositioning. You remove emotional access, you reduce informational leakage, you stop advertising your availability, and suddenly the same people who ignored you begin to study you. Not because you became louder, because you became scarce. Scarcity rewires perception, it creates gravity, it forces recalculation. You do not confront, you reassign distance, you do not argue, you change your posture, you do not explain your standards, you enforce them through absence. This is how hierarchy resets itself. Chess is not won by aggressive pieces. It is won by controlled squares. You begin choosing where energy flows, who earns proximity, who is allowed influence, and slowly, without announcement, your role changes. People no longer expect access. They request it. People no longer test you. They measure themselves first. This is the moment when behavior shifts from emotional to architectural. You stop living inside reactions. You begin shaping outcomes, not through force, through positioning, not through confrontation, through withdrawal. This is not kindness, this is not cruelty, this is selection. And selection is the foundation of every sovereign system. Chapter 6. Identity execution. The person you were taught to be is no longer useful. That identity was designed for obedience, for emotional labor, for survival inside other people's rules. It told you that loyalty was virtue, that patience was strength, that self-sacrifice was nobility. It lied. That identity kept you predictable, readable, harvestable. You defended it because it felt moral. You protected it because it felt familiar. You suffered for it because you thought suffering meant meaning. It did not. Identity is not who you are. It is the story you accepted, and every story can be terminated. This is not a transformation. This is an execution. You kill the version of you that needs approval. You kill the version that explains intentions. You kill the version that confuses kindness with leverage. You replace it with something quieter, colder, deliberate. The new identity does not perform. It selects. It does not react. It calculates. It does not chase connection. It allows alignment. This is not becoming heartless. This is becoming ungovernable. You stop identifying as good. You start identifying as sovereign. Sovereignty means your emotional center is internal. Your standards are non-negotiable. Your attention is expensive. You do not announce this shift. You let behavior expose it. Silence becomes heavier. Chapter 7. The line you cannot cross back. There is a moment when awareness stops being knowledge and becomes exile. You cannot return to who you were after this. Before, you wanted to be understood. Now, you understand too much to need it. Before, you wanted approval. Now you see approval as currency, and you no longer beg for currency. This is the line. On one side stand those who still believe goodness protects them. On the other stand those who know protection comes only from position. You do not cross this line by choice. You cross it by exhaustion, by betrayal, by watching loyalty fail, honesty punished, and obedience exploited. Once crossed, you cannot pretend again. You will hear conversations differently. Promises will sound like contracts written in smoke. Compliments will feel like measurements. Smiles will look like masks. This is not paranoia. This is calibration. You will lose something here. You will lose the fantasy that people mean what they say. You will lose the comfort of moral simplicity. You will lose the illusion that effort alone guarantees dignity. But you gain something heavier. You gain position. From this side of the line, you stop asking, "Is this fair?" You start asking, "Who benefits?" You stop asking, "What do they think of me?" You start asking, "What do they need from me?" You stop trying to be liked. You start becoming difficult to replace. Most people will never cross this line, not because they cannot, but because comfort still owns them. If you are still here, you already feel the separation. This is not superiority, it is isolation. And isolation is the price of sovereignty. You are no longer here to be saved. You are here to be positioned. This is the last place where you can still turn back. After this, you will never again be innocent in how you see power, and that is exactly why very few will stay. If you are still here, you already know which side you belong to.